Hey, it's TDA and welcome back to episode 5 of this Dyson Sphere Program by the book Let's Play. Last time we built this nice little mall you see on the background where we can shop around for all kinds of nice buildings that we want. And the blueprints of that have been updated. We also built in the episode after that the red science. So that's the... I'm actually flying in the wrong direction, aren't I? Yeah, I am. We built the red science production facility you see over here, so that's been slowly ticking away. One thing I've done since the last two episodes last week is that I built this nice little line of power over here. We were a little bit low on power. Now you can see we have a nice little buffer here. And because we did that all by wind energy, this will always be there. There's no such thing as running out of wind. And I heavily prefer using wind power and solar power over, for example, the thermal power stations that you can also build. These, you can power them with coal or with graphite. Nothing in particular wrong with that, but that does run out, and it has the added annoyance of when you run low on power, your coal and graphite production will also reduce because you're not able to produce them on full power. That in turn might affect your power stations and so on. So you can get into a little bit of a downward spiral in terms of power, and it can be really annoying to have to kickstart that back up again. If you only use your wind and solar energy, you don't have that problem. So just my personal preference, but that is how I do it. When you're building a power line all around the world. Actually, there's two reasons to do that. First of all, it looks really cool. But second of all, by doing this, it takes a little while, but you will actually be able to spread your power supply all across the planet. I've just done the equator line, so that's just exactly through the middle of the planet. But you can also add in a few lines across the equators that go from the north to the south pole. I guess you don't call those equators, but you get what I mean, I hope. And by that you can basically slice up your entire planet in little parts. Again, it looks really cool, but B, that makes sure you have your entire power supply spread across the entire planet without really having to do anything for it. It helps your planet stay organized if you want to segment it into several parts. In the early game, that's not really a big deal, but later on it can really help you make sure you know what's where. Yeah. So if you want to do that, by all means do that. I am going to show you one little tip before we go off planet and get on with the rest of this episode. If you build this, you will get into areas where, like here, there's water. Now, I guess everyone knows that you can use foundations to cover that up. By default, it starts out with an area something like this. It's pretty big. 3 by 3, I believe. It's the standard setting. You can make that larger or smaller. But it's actually something that I don't think a lot of people realize. If you put it to the smaller size, just a 1 by 1, actually the only thing you have to do is just place one little item. And congratulations on this milestone. That was just added in last week, so we'll probably see a few of those popping up as we do stuff. If you just put in one, like I just did now, that should be actually enough. There you go, to place a wind turbine on it. Just one. By doing it that way, and I'm also always a little bit lazy, so I just draw a line of single foundation, but you minimize the amount of dirt. Soil pile is the correct term, I guess, for it, but that's annoying to pronounce, so I always say dirt. The amount of dirt you need in order to fill this all up is minimal. If you run low on dirt, there's also a little trick that you can use. Actually, there's two tricks. So if you place any building, so let's say this. As you can see, when you're placing buildings, it will flatten the ground automatically by placing the building, and you will be collecting soil pile. Well, placing a lot of buildings to flatten the entire area is a little annoying in the start, and you can just mass produce those buildings. Another way just to do this is flatten the area by using foundations. If you do that, however, you run out of foundations really quick, so one solution is just to produce a lot of it, and if you've been using my blueprints, you should have quite a nice stack of it, but still you run out really fast. Again, by just making sure you minimize the amount, if you put down one little soil pile, it will actually flatten the whole area around this. And by doing that, you collect all the dirt that has around that. So just by placing this one thing, I just collected 1300 dirt. Again, that's just a really easy way if you kind of go like la 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 to get a lot of dirt, a lot of soil pile, without really having to actually flatten the entire area with your foundations. So, just a few tips on how to handle that. Yeah, so going off planet, we've done the blue research, we've done the red research. And actually, the next step up is the yellow research. We haven't researched the yellow research yet, somewhere down the line over here. But if you look at that, where is it? It's over here, I believe. Yeah. If you look at it, we will need a few items that we can't actually craft yet. So one of them is diamonds. We can research the diamonds. We might have already done so. I'm not entirely sure. No, it's over here. Diamonds are really easy. You just make them from graphite. So just a matter of researching this and we can make diamonds. So that's not really a problem. However, the biggest problem here, where is it? I lost it. Oh, there we go. The other problem that we have here is the other item. So we need those titanium crystals that you researched just before this. Titanium crystals are made of, surprise, surprise, titanium. And titanium is actually something you cannot find on your current planet. You can technically mine titanium from stone, and especially the larger stones have it in them by default. Let's see if I can find one example of that. Yeah, there we go. I think this is one of the larger stone areas. So if you mine this manually, then this should, I believe, give us some titanium. Yeah, there we go. So you get a little bit of ore of that. But of course, you can just go around your entire planet gathering up titanium. The solution to that is very simple. Don't stay on your planet. Sorry for all the flopping around. So you need to go off planet. We actually have a little bit of a challenge over here, because we have two planets that we can go to. Leporus 1 and Leporus, what is this? 4. But actually, usually one of those planets has a very nice amount of resources, but our planets are a little bit of a puzzle. This planet is a arid desert planet, which has a ton of wind energy. So this ratio means that we get 150% of the normal wind energy that we would normally get on our planet. So if you look at our own planet, it has the standard 100% and around 100% solar energy as well. So that's pretty default. But yeah, this planet, 150% wind energy. So powering stuff by wind energy on this planet is going to be really easy. This is also a tidally locked planet. That means that the same side is always facing the sun. That's actually really handy for solar energy, which also happens to be at 116%, because you can just place the solar panels on the side of the planet that's facing the sun, and then get continuous power from them, where normally, because your planet is turning around, only half your solar panels will actually be ever lit up by the sun, because the other half is on the night side of your planet in the darkness. So you don't have the problem here. You can completely abuse that, and with 160% power, yeah, that's actually not a bad thing. There is one big problem with this planet though. There is no silicon on this planet. Nothing. We have stone, which we can technically turn into silicon, but that's a very annoying process. But yeah, we only have 0 silicon here. We do have titanium, we do have some iron and copper, but no silicon. And we kind of want not just titanium, but we also want silicon. Our other planet has both, so this is really nice. So we have a little bit of everything, but we mostly have a lot of titanium and silicon. There's only a tiny bit of copper, which again is kind of annoying, because we would like to have pretty much all of this. Maybe not into the millions, but 164,000 is not that much copper. So again, that's going to be a problem at some point. But another problem with this planet is that there's a wind energy ratio of 70%, so that's not ideal, and solar energy is like really bad, so it's only 56% here because it's so far away from the sun. However, this is still going to be the planet that we're going to initially, because we need the silicon as well. So basically what we will do is we'll get our initial titanium from here, some silicon here as well. We'll use this to make solar panels, among other things. And then we might want to track back to this planet later on, because this is going to be much more convenient to produce everything else. We have a steady supply of iron, copper, titanium, etc. here as well, just no silicon. In a whole, this system is actually not the greatest system to start out with, because we have a lot of iron here, and we have a lot of copper here, and then we have, of course, the main materials on our base planet as well that we need. That's not our base planet, where is it? There we go. Which includes, for example, coal, which we need to make graphite, as well as the oil, which is typically only on your starting planet. So basically we will need all 3 planets to get a full set of production going. That also means that in the later stages of the game we might actually choose to completely relocate to a new system, but yeah, that's a little bit further ahead. One nice thing about this system though is that we have this planet here, which has fire ice. We won't be able to collect that just yet, but of course we will be able to do so in a little while. And fire ice is really useful to kind of fast track certain production. Anyway, let's select the outer planet, which I don't think I just did. No, I didn't. Set the indicator so we know where to fly to. It kind of helps you figure it out. And then if you press space and you just keep flying up, you will get into a modus where you fly off into the sky. We can speed up. We'll need to fly around our little gas giant and towards the other planets. There's actually a gravitational pull when you do this, so I always find that very entertaining. While we're flying, I also cleaned up my inventory a little bit, just to make sure I'm not dragging along too much stuff. Because we want to bring back titanium. Now, you can, of course, opt to bring a lot more or dump a lot more stuff from your inventory, so you have the maximum amount of space in your inventory. To be honest, it's not the biggest deal if you ask me. If you only bring a few stacks of it, you'll probably need to make a few trips back and forth. But yeah, if you want to be a purist about it, clean up everything you don't need, but make sure to bring smelters, sorters, belts, of course, don't forget belts. Don't forget to bring foundations either. Depending on the planet you're going to, you might or might not need them. And of course bring some assemblers as well, so you have the basic production items to get that going. You might be wondering why I said we also need silicon, because I was just talking about titanium for the research. That is because we will need that to make solar panels. And again, that's a really easy way to get your solar production. And congrats, we just flew to another planet. Another milestone done. This is a very cold planet, apparently. It's a ice-filled planet as well, so yeah, that makes sense. Where is all our stuff? Let's turn the veins on. This is our only copper veins. It's only 5. Oh, that's so sad. And it's actually going to be really annoying as well, but don't worry, we'll deal with it. Ours, we have some silicon over here. Some titanium. Yeah, it's going to be really inconvenient that our copper is all the way over there. But we also want some iron, we want some titanium, and we want some silicon, and which we have all of those right over here. I'm just checking if there's any location that makes more sense, but no, I don't think so. I believe that was in this direction. Just checking again. I believe it was over there. Yeah. Landing so far away from where we want to go is a little annoying, but not the biggest problem in the world still. Yeah, so this is where we want to go. So I'm just going to show you this once. I'm not going to bore you, but whenever you reach a new planet, I recommend you start with the the equator, which is over here, the big fat line in the middle. Build some power around there. Actually getting the milestone for making wind power now. And then build your power like this all across the planet. Depending, of course, on how much power you brought with you, because if you only brought a handful of wind turbines, that's not going to work. But it's a good way to kind of get your planet going initially. Don't forget to recharge yourself. Bring your power towers so you can actually do that. It will speed up your construction by quite a lot. And I was just wondering why it was saying 20%, but that's because, of course, we're charging ourselves at the moment. One little trick you can use, some people hate it, but yeah, you can actually use your wind turbines to connect power to where you want to go. So I know I want to be building stuff over there, so rather than just going all around the world, I could also do something like this. That's basically functioning as a power supply in that direction. And by doing so, I will make sure that I actually have power over there. Speeding things up a little bit. Okay, now blueprints. Because this is a by the book playthrough, so we cannot just not use blueprints. Let's see. We have the silicon over here, we have some iron over here. We probably want to build kind of in this direction, so we have the titanium, we have the silicon, we have everything that we need. Oh, we could actually use this titanium as well. Yeah, so let's build somewhere over here. What do we want to build? We are going to be building a few things, actually. We have a few things. So we have a silicon production, but we also need a processor factory. Are we going to build that right now? Maybe not. Let's just start with the... we don't think we've researched that yet, did we? Let me just check, because if we're here, we might as well do that. Just check, double check. Oh, we did actually already research that. So yeah, why not? So... that will be built with silicon, so... this is part 1. And I'll show you the full thing in a minute. Just making sure we know which direction it's coming from. So it's coming from that direction. So let's build it like so. It's part 1. This is again one of those blueprints that you will need to connect up. Because when I made the blueprint, it was not set to connect yet. I will actually try to see if I can update that after this, so you don't actually have to bother about connecting it manually. A little bit of surface from my side. Let's see. Yep. Just making sure it's all in the correct place. Let's make sure that this power is actually connected up. Then we can place ourselves a little closer to speed up the production. Again, make sure you use those power towers to kind of like power yourself up while you're connecting things up. Makes your production a lot faster that way. And then the third part of our processor facility. Now, why am I building a processor facility while I just said we're coming over here to get titanium? Because we will also need processors. Again, it's a little bit of a downside that we have no, or only such a small amount of copper on this planet, but we'll just need to deal with that. But we will need to relocate this in a bit. Luckily, we don't need that much copper, so it's not the biggest problem in the world that this is not fully connected up. Okay. Let's connect that one up. Okay, so now what is this blueprint actually doing? In this blueprint, we're making some basic iron, we're making copper, we have none of this planet, and we're making circuit boards. Why are we making all of this? Well, we're making this because I want to create two things. I need to make these. So these are microcrystalline components, also known as the things you don't really need for anything except for one other item, which is processors. Processors you will need a ton of. So making sure you start this production early on is actually really helpful to make sure you have enough of it down the line. You don't need to do this if you haven't researched it when you visit the off-world for the first time. No big deal, you can do without. But if you're here anyway, I suggest you start up this production just to kickstart your later buildings a little bit further. Another reason to do this is because this allows you to build these solar panels. And again, these are quite slow to produce, especially in this setup. But since it will just be plugging away while you're doing other stuff, you will fill up with a nice little buffer of solar panels. So when we actually finish with our other planet where we can use those solar panels to large effect, yeah, we'll already have a whole bunch of them. It's actually not set to a limit, so there's no such thing as too much solar panels, in my opinion, because you will end up using a ton of it if you kind of go for the same approach that I'm typically using for these initial few new planets. Actually, I use it for my late game planets as well, but yeah, once you have your Dyson Sphere ability up, you might want to switch to that as well, but that's really up to you. There's no wrong way to play this game. Alright, this is up and running. It's obviously not doing anything right now for the simple reason that we have not actually supplied it with any materials yet. We'll need to supply this with copper, iron and silicon. And yeah, just make sure you belt those in from wherever they need to come from. It's one full belt for each. So as always, that means that if you hook up 2 of these and you make sure they're actually connected to 6 veins rather than 5 like I just did, shouldn't be too much of an issue. There we go. 2 times 6 veins means that we should have enough to connect them up to a full belt. I am not trying to make this look pretty. I know that's going to bug some of you. The reason I'm not doing that is very simple. These early planets, you're probably going to be tearing down whatever you build on them quite soon afterwards anyway. You're not building things to that extent that it's actually really useful to make sure it's all looking nice and pretty. It's going to be kind of all over the place. So yeah. But if you want, you can of course make only straight lines or whatever you actually define as something that looks pretty, because that of course will differ from person to person. We will also need some iron to do this. There's plenty of that on this planet, so that's not going to be a problem. 1, 2, 3, yeah, this is 6. And if it works from one direction, it should work from the other side as well. Let's go like that. Okay, I'll try to make it look a little pretty. Once again, my small little trick. Kind of use your wind turbines to connect the power up. Again, some people will say this looks really bad. I actually think it looks really smart, but yeah, your mileage may vary, as they say. You do need to make sure these things are actually connected up, of course, because otherwise you will be under powering your production center. That won't really do the job. So make sure you focus on that as well. I am going to place down a few other items as well while I'm here, because we will need the copper. Our precious little 5 copper veins, which is actually going to be annoying because 5 of them. Once we do one of the next few researches that I have queued up, it will actually be producing at top speed because you get the production speed bonus. So these are actually all 5 of them. There we go. But we might as well just connect one more up. It's going to be overkill for the belt. But this way we actually know for sure we have a full belt coming in. We actually will be using the full belt as well. So by doing this, at least we're not missing out on anything in terms of production. Yes, now we have 2 additional drones that will definitely speed up our production as well. It's a little bit of a quality of life that I am doing those personal upgrades first, rather than going for the research of buildings and things like that. But that's, I think, very nicely designed by the designers of this game, that there's periods in the game where you are just kind of basically like we're doing now, where we're going off to a different planet, we're building quite large buildings, putting down a ton of belts, as you can see. Make sure you bring enough belts, by the way. I mean, it sounds obvious, but yeah, this can really break your construction if you find out you haven't actually brought enough belts. Yeah, there's going to be periods where you're building a lot of stuff, and obviously that's part of games like this. But in the meanwhile, your research will just be progressing. As you can see, it's not really going fast, but it doesn't need to go fast, because by the time we get back, it will be done. We'll be building a few other items. We have plenty of stuff still to build, actually. And by the time that we need that new stuff, it'll be there. Using a splitter here, you can of course just use a bridge, but yeah, I like the splitter and I have them on me anyway. Just don't forget to do this, because if you don't, you're going to cry because all your items will be messed up. Now, let's build this, just to make sure we're actually being powered up. I brought some additional coal as well. Let's see. So we have the silicon coming in. We have the iron not coming in yet because I stopped in the middle of that. I got distracted. I do that a lot when I'm in this phase where I know that I want to build a lot of stuff. But I am not that patient every now and then. So there we go. Let's do this like that, maybe. Actually, let's do this with a little bridge. There we go. All right. Putting down our power towers again, because we will need more power to make sure we should keep building. So yeah, we have some silicon coming in. We will. There's actually silicon going into the processors. There's silicon going into the solar panels, but we won't actually get enough silicon for our own personal use. So to counteract that, let's go and make a little silicon farm. It's just going to be really straightforward. Just a tiny little belt of silicon over here. And similarly, I've made a blueprint for the titanium as well. I like flipping those around so they all end up at the same spot. Oh. The power tower is actually a little bit overkill there. And we will need to build some production. I placed that a little carelessly, so this is actually good. It's 7. So let's see if we can get 6. Shouldn't be too big of a problem. There we go. Now, if you want, you can always just build a little more. But quite honestly, this type of production is by far enough for what we're trying to do. This will be producing along while we're away and doing other stuff. So yeah, don't fuss about getting this huge titanium production in place when you know we won't actually be needing that much titanium early on. But again, of course, you do you, so if you want to have that big ass production going on right from the start, by all means do so. There's nothing wrong with that, of course. It's just not needed in this phase of the game. That's going to take care of our titanium, and then we need another belt of silicon. There we go. That should be more than plenty. And the ingoing is over here. There we go. There we go. Hooking it up. Alright. So now we have this going. We are mass producing silicon in a moment. Let's make sure this is actually hooked up and connecting. Don't you just love that we have, what is it now, 6 drones constructing these buildings for us. Speeding up quite nicely. There's two storage units here, so there's going to be plenty of silicon coming in for us. So that will take care of that. Let's make sure we do the same for this. Go. So this will get us a nice little titanium production that will feed into this. Again, this is not a huge production, but as you can see, the speed is quite high. If you leave this around for just a few minutes, it will already have a ton of titanium sitting there waiting for you to pick it up. And that's all the titanium we will actually need. So now this is finished, just let's take a quick look at this. As you can see, silicon, circuit boards, processors. The processors are actually going to be stacked up over here. So this will get you a little bit of a buffer of processors. Slow but steady. Solar panels as well. And whatever silicon is left will be going into this box. So you can get that. I'm not going to bore you having to watch me craft this entire line of belts. But I hope this gives you an idea of what to do when you go off planet. A few blueprints to kind of kickstart this production, and I will finish building this up. I'll make sure we actually have enough power for this as well, because as you can see, we're running a little bit low on that, which again is because I'm charging. But if we do this, it's actually not that bad. We have a little bit of buffer, but this isn't actually working yet. So once this gets started up, you will see we'll need a bit more power. So I will make sure I craft that, but not make you sit through that. I'll see you at the start of the next episode when we go back to our homeworld. We will start focusing a little bit on getting our other items that we haven't produced up and running, and we'll slowly start working towards getting our yellow signs up and running. Okay, again, as always, the blueprints are in the description of this video. I'll try to make sure I update this little bit of blueprint in terms of the processor facility so that you don't actually have to manually connect that. And if you like this content, and if you're still here in episode 5, I assume you do, then please feel free to like and subscribe. Yeah, it helps other people find this channel as well. And to be honest, it's just cool to see you guys reacting to my videos and liking the stuff. And if you have any ideas or suggestions for future content, videos, etc., please let me know. Alright, thank you, and see you in the next episode.